Jacko sponsors the Vanarama National League on BT Sport.
Hello everybody, welcome along to our latest roundup from the Vanarama National League. Half an hour in which we'll bring you all the key incidents from the latest round of fixtures in English football's fifth tier. And what a programme we've got coming up. Part-timers Braintree set their sights on the unthinkable. Halifax's great escape nears completion as Harvey shocks his former club. And thank the Lord, Tranmere keep their playoff hopes alive. In a season full of romantic fairy tales, Saturday saw the latest instalment in the story of little old Braintree Town battling it out in the top 5 of the National League. The part-timers' push for promotion to the Football League brought them to the racecourse ground to face a Wrexham side who had to win themselves to keep their playoff hopes alive. But the visitors couldn't have dreamt of a better start. Just 3 minutes on the clock when Michael Cheek outfoxed Jamal Fifield and slotted past Reece Taylor to open the scoring. Nothing less than victory would do for Gary Mills' men, and they were back on level terms after 11 minutes. Head tennis in the Braintree area, Simon Heslop finishing emphatically past Tom King. And the game was completely turned on its head before half-time. Lee Fowler's free kick drifting all the way in. Braintree's backline, usually so secure, falling apart. But with the finishing line in sight, Danny Cowley's team have really found their scoring touch of late, and there was still time for a fourth goal before the break. Wrexham giving the ball away, Simeon Akinola's shot deflecting into the path of Cheek. 13 goals this season now for Braintree's leading marksman, 2-2 at the interval. As the game entered the last 10 minutes, Wrexham needed a goal to keep any hopes of a top 5 finish alive, while the away side needed to score to keep the chasing pack at bay. As Braintree broke again, Mitch Brundle made his way forward. His first goal of the season won the game at Gateshead last week. His second was the winner at Wrexham. The Welsh side's playoff hopes are over for another year. A point next Saturday will see the season continue for Braintree.
It's been a fantastic journey. You know, we're proud of what we've achieved so far. You know, you always dream of being successful. But I'm not sure we've got this far in the dream, if I'm honest. But we're gonna just keep competing. We're gonna keep trying to make sure that we get our processes right. And we're looking forward already to next Saturday, and we'll see where it takes us.
Two playoff hopefuls collided at the Silver Lake Stadium, but both Eastleigh and Tranmere are on the outside looking in. Chris Todd's team drew their game in hand at Halifax in midweek, so their fate was no longer in their own hands. And with Braintree victorious, the visitors knew only 3 points could save their playoff aspirations. This free kick from Tranmere's James Norwood was the closest either side came in a tense first half. Norwood's strike after the interval would have been one of the goals of the day in the National League, were it not ruled out for offside. And Gary Brabin's boys continued to probe. Ross Flitney couldn't cope with Adam Mecky's strike, but Flitney foiled Norwood on the follow-up. At long last, Eastleigh gave Tranmere something to sweat about. Joe Partington with the cross, Jai Reason's header somehow kept out by keeper Scott Davis. But on 87 minutes came potentially a decisive moment in both clubs' seasons. Norwood, the right man in the right place, finally finding the back of the net. 19 this campaign for a man who purchased the title of Lord in the summer. The goal was a major blow to Eastleigh's hopes of making the top 5. Substitute Josh Payne inches away from a spectacular equaliser. The win for Tranmere kept their slim playoff hopes alive, but both managers now need Braintree to lose on the last day of the season.
I'll believe, because I'm positive. I'm a positive thinking person, and but it's not likely. Let's be honest about it. You know, I've got to play it down because the situation we're in a position now that we're hoping for them to lose, us to score and win, and who knows.
There's something to play for, last game of the season, and you know, I think it's exciting, you know, and I'm sure everyone else will have that excitement, and you know, so first and foremost we need to go there and play in front of our own crowd and get a win.
Forest Green were looking to secure second place in the table ahead of the playoffs. Halifax had everything to play for, namely preserving their place in the division. They looked dead and buried when Jim Harvey took charge in November, but they're in with a fighting chance and started strongly at the new lawn. Richard Pennicott stinging the palms of Steve Arnold. Adi Pennant won't have enjoyed seeing 3 players come off injured in the first half. Not good news heading into those playoffs. He also saw some great skill from Brett Williams, but the finish not quite up to scratch. The hosts thought they'd made the breakthrough after half-time. Halifax defender Scott McManus heading into his own net, but a Forest Green player was offside and judged to have been interfering with play. And with 20 minutes to go came a twist that could be huge for Halifax. Shaquille McDonald ended his team's 5-match goal drought with the winner. Forest Green with just 1 win in their last 10 games. Halifax now have their destiny in their own hands. Victory over Macclesfield will complete a remarkable escape.
Considering where we've come from, 10 points adrift when I took over to close the gap and then go into the last game of the season, still in our hands, it's just a tremendous achievement, irrespective of what happens next week. To get to this far is absolutely super. So hopefully next week we can just finish it off and get the win that would keep us safe.
Victory over Welland last weekend had put managerless Chester in the driving seat to secure safety from the dreaded drop. But a trip to face a Grimsby side that had scored over 80 goals this season was a daunting one for the caretaker duo of John McCarthy and Ian Sharps. And yet the visitors began brightly. Kane Richards finding space inside the area, his effort cleared off the line. The hosts were looking to cement their playoff place, and they have the top scorer in the National League, although Porrick Amond may have left his shooting boots at home. Amond was the hat-trick hero at Woking in midweek, but he spurned the kind of chance he's been gobbling up this season as the game remained goalless at the interval. Chester have needed a hero during this relegation run-in, and you can always rely on Rooney. Wayne's brother John with superb control and the finish to match. 5 in 5 for Rooney at just the right time of the season. And the away side doubled their advantage just after the hour. Defender Ryan Assel squeezing the ball in to send Chester into dreamland. The hosts were on the verge of successive defeats on their own turf, but they did pull a goal back. Captain Craig Disley scrambling home to half the deficit. Boos at the final whistle at Blundell Park. Results elsewhere ensured Grimsby will be in the playoffs for the 4th year in a row, but it was Chester's day. Back-to-back victories securing their National League status.
They're amazing, our support. Everywhere they go, we take big support. We are one of the best supported clubs in the National League, and we get that extra support. And I think it does make the bit of difference that they might get us that few more points over a season, which allows us to stay out of the trouble and away from relegation.
Playoff football and a potential trip to Wembley must have seemed a distant dream for Dover back in August, but they travelled to Agborough knowing victory over Kidderminster would make a top 5 finish a mathematical certainty. Chris Kinnear's men began on the front foot. Ricky Modest clean through, denied by Dean Schnedker. Schnedker again in action as Stephen Payne bore down on goal. The keeper again the victor. Kidderminster's race is run, their relegation is confirmed, but they broke the deadlock in this match. Keith Lowe's header giving Harriers fans something to smile about. The left foot of Nicky Deverdix has been a real wand for Dover. He almost conjured up something special with that free kick. But how about this for a Route 1 equaliser? There was only one more touch of the ball once it left keeper Mitch Walker's boot. That came from Ricky Miller. Dover's top scorer moves on to 20 goals this season. Chris Kinnear's team knew a win would guarantee a playoff place. This would have been a rare goal indeed for right-back Sam Magri. Schnedker again with the save. But the hosts might have snatched all 3 points. Ben Whitfield couldn't have asked for a clearer sight of goal. Walker making himself big to keep it out. With Eastleigh failing to beat Tranmere, it was delirium anyway for Dover at the final whistle. Their campaign will go on into May.
Amazing. I mean, really, the chairman might have thought he thinks we should win the Premiership, but it was always going to be hard for a club like ours to get in the playoffs, even though we've got high ambition. Last year, first year in there, we did very well and came 8th. Now we can't finish less than 5th, so that's an absolute amazing achievement by everyone at the club. And we've just got to look to the future now and worry about what's going to happen next Saturday.
The news that this week you hired John Eustace.
Yeah.
How did that appointment come about?
John's been toiling with a knee injury for a while, and he's decided now that that's the route that he wants to take. And he's been ready to be a manager for probably 10 years. Every manager he works with, every chairman and chief exec he's worked with has just said unbelievable things about him. John's going to be a top manager.
Altrincham began the day third from bottom of the table, knowing that if results went against them, they could go down. They faced relegated Welling, who replaced head coach Dean Frost with Mark Goldberg this week. Would there be a new manager bounce for the visitors? It appeared not, as the hosts led after 33 minutes. Jordan Sinnott breaking from midfield to score his 3rd goal of the season, all of which have come in the last 9 matches. Neil Tolson's team knew they needed 2 wins from their final 2 games to keep their survival hopes alive, and they needed some luck as well. Ian Gale, adjudged to have handled inside the area, penalty given. Welling furious, as it seemed a clear case of ball to hand. A big moment right on the stroke of half-time, Michael Rankin doubling the Altrincham advantage. If there were any doubts as to the destination of the 3 points, those were settled 5 minutes into the second half. James Lorry bursting forward and bobbling the ball past Marek Rodak. 3-0 Altrincham, a 2nd win in 17 games, looked a certainty. The hosts had failed to score in their previous 3 matches, but they were making up for lost time. Damien Reeves scored 18 for the club last season. This was just his 8th of this campaign. And the rout was complete in stoppage time. A long ball over the top, allowing Rankin to register his 2nd. Altringham's season will now be defined by a trip to Cressing Road to face Braintree on the final day. They must win and hope other results go their way to stay in the National League.
It's quite a unique situation really, because they need a point as well to be in the playoffs. So there's going to be, as much as the pressure's on us, there's going to be an awful lot of pressure on Braintree as well. So freak results have happened in football. We'll look after ourselves, and hopefully if we can do that, then if Lady Luck's looking down on us, we can pull off one of a little bit of a miracle.
Chris Moyses took charge of Lincoln City for the last time at Sincil Bank with a 2,500 strong home crowd, hoping to bid a winning farewell to their boss against a Woking side with only 1 win in their last 15 games. But it looked as though the visitors didn't get the memo 19 minutes into the first half, and Lincoln keeper Paul Farman didn't stand a chance against that Kieran Murtagh header. That was his first goal for the club since October. 3 minutes later and Woking's relentless attacking continued. A cross from the former Lincoln defender Jake Caprice found a completely unmarked Bruno Andrade, who doubled the visitors' advantage. That's 2 in 2 for the midfielder. After the interval, Lincoln were given a lifeline when this lofted ball from Matt Hodge found the head of Matt Reed. That ended his goal drought of 9 games to bag his 20th of the campaign. Even our cameraman was surprised by Lincoln's comeback, as 1 minute later Jack Muldoon stunned Woking by sending this perler past keeper Jake Cole to level the match. But Lincoln were wasteful in their race for a winner, and in the 87th minute they were punished. Substitute John Goddard beating the backline to bury the ball through Farman's legs. 16 goals this season for Woking's top scorer. Food for thought then for Lincoln director Clive Nates as he hunts for Moyes' replacement. The former Chester boss Steve Burr and Liverpool legend Robbie Fowler are both rumoured to be in the running.
After 4 straight defeats, Gateshead were looking to end their home fixtures on a high against a Bromley side who've won just 1 in their last 7. Gateshead manager Neil Aspin described his team's first half performance as excellent, and you can see why. 12 minutes in, and Danny Johnson gave them the perfect start. Josh Gillis marked his return back from injury in spectacular fashion after sending this ball scorching past keeper Alan Julian. 2-0 Gateshead. Into the second half, and a well-placed through ball from Jordan Higgs and a great first touch from Adam Coombs saw Bromley right back in it. A first league goal of his career for the former Chelsea trainee. Bromley put 3 past the host when they last played each other back in September, so it was only fitting Gateshead repaid the favour. And who else but the star man Gillis capping a delightful day, lobbing Julian to send home a happy Gateshead support.
With Halifax pulling off the extraordinary against Forest Green Rovers, a loss for either Boreham Wood or Guiseley would see them drop into the relegation places with 1 game remaining. And with 23 minutes gone and a quick 1-2, Forest Green loanee Delano Sam York gave the host the advantage. His first for the season and potentially a massive one. Guiseley were poor in that first half, but after the break they came to life. Rob Atkinson will still be wondering how his header didn't cross the line. The visitors continued their threat on goal, and appeals for a penalty rang around the stadium as this ball bounced off defender Scott Doe's arm, but referee Dean Trevelyan waved off the claims. Manager Luke Garrard said his side rode their luck during the game, but it seems Sam York left his 4-leaf clover in the dressing room at half-time as his Thierry Henry-esque shot somehow failed to hit the net. Ollie Johnson almost brought the scores level towards the end, but keeper James Russell and defender Ben Nunn were on hand to secure a massive 3 points for Boreham Wood. Guiseley drop into the bottom 4. Manager Mark Bauer, though, felt his side deserved more.
I thought it was even first half, we went in behind, but then second half we've absolutely dominated the game. We could have had 4 or 5 goals, missed numerous chances, and an absolutely appalling refereeing decision denies us a penalty when it's a clear and blatant handball, and that summed up the way we've been recently, and that's what's come back to bite us.
Pleased, obviously to get the win, no matter how it comes now. For me, we've got to go and get a win. I felt the boys defended very well, but backs to the wall second half especially. If they had their scoring boots on, it could have been a different game.
After reaching 50 points in their win against Bromley last time out, Torquay manager Kevin Nicholson was closing in on his personal target of 53 points for the season. It would be mission accomplished if they were to get a win against visitors Barrow. It was a shaky start after keeper Joel Dixon thought he'd cleared the danger early on from a Torquay attack, but Sean Harrod had other ideas. Luckily for Barrow, the post was on hand to keep it 0-0. With half an hour gone, Barrow drew first blood in the most unusual fashion. A goal kick from Brendan Moore rebounded off a completely unaware Exodus Gahagan, only for Ben Tomlinson to collect and superbly lob Moore with his first touch. Torquay responded after the break. Courtney Richards composed himself perfectly to rifle this 30-yarder past keeper Dixon to level the match. The hosts were unlucky not to take the lead after this header from Ben Gehring was cleared off the line by Jordan Williams. But on 81 minutes, Nicholson's side finally found the answer. Nathan Blissett stabbed home to make him Torquay's joint top goal scorer this season with 7. Barrow have been tough contenders this season and have only lost once in their last 13 games. Andy Cook went close, only to hit the crossbar. But in the 92nd minute, his efforts paid off, turning Gahagan to score his 22nd goal of the campaign. A great return from the ex-Grimsby striker. A share of the spoil sees Nicholson's 2 points shy of his target, which he can still achieve by beating Guiseley on the final day of the season.
Southport caretaker player manager Andy Bishop took his side to the recreation ground, looking to further boost his chances of retaining the role of manager at the end of the season. Unbeaten in 5, he was looking for consecutive away wins for the first time this year. Aldershot, however, came into this one off the back of 3 consecutive home defeats, but things started well for them. A defensive blunder from Andre Jones allowed Dan Walker through on goal, 1-0 to Aldershot inside 10 minutes. Southport responded well, and after the crossbar denied Jamie Allen, Liam Nolan picked up the loose ball to bring the scores level with 20 minutes gone. Aldershot almost regained their lead, but Charlie Walker's header pinged the point where the post and crossbar meet. But inside 40 minutes, a powerful cross from Louis Armand found the feet of Andy Wright, who stabbed the ball home to give the visitors the winner. Southport leap above Aldershot into 15th. They are guaranteed their highest finish in the National League since 7th in 2012.
Champions Cheltenham travel to the Moss Rose, fresh off the back of securing their Football League status for next season. But before a ball was kicked, fans, players and staff showed their appreciation to Macclesfield kitman Paul Etchells, who will retire at the end of the season after 17 years' service. But with 25 minutes gone, any hopes Etchells had of seeing his side win were cast in doubt, as hitman Dan Holman beat keeper Richie Brannigan to give the visitors the lead. That takes his tally to 29 this season, just one behind Grimsby's Porrick Hammond. Macclesfield came close to an equaliser when Danny Rowe crossed for Jack Simpson, but he couldn't find a finish. Then Holman almost doubled his side's lead, but defender David Fitzpatrick made full use of his head to clear away the danger. 3 points for the champions means if they beat Lincoln on the final day of the season, they'll finish on 101 points.
So the final playoff place is Braintree's to lose. A point is all they need in a huge match against Altrincham on the final day. Danny Cowley's men could in fact leap over Dover if results go their way. And what a game in prospect at Prenton Park, where Gary Brabham knows a win against Grimsby is a must if they're to catch Braintree, and even then he'll have everything crossed. And there's also the possibility of Eastleigh sneaking in if both of those sides lose, but they also need a 3-goal swing to have any hope. While we're on the top of the table, what about Forest Green Rovers? A momentous achievement for Adi Pennock's men, finishing second, their highest ever league position. But after losing to Halifax, they're now winless in 7 going into their biggest games of the season. Down at the bottom, 4 clubs are still nervously fighting it out to save their National League status. Boreham Wood and Halifax, no victories for them will consign Guiseley and Altrincham to relegation. Boreham Wood face already relegated Welling United, whereas Jim Harvey's men face Macclesfield. Guiseley host Torquay, hoping they have an off day with their safety already secure, but Altrincham have it all to do against playoff hopefuls Braintree Town, a game they must win if they're to have any hope of beating the drop. And we'll bring you coverage of that massive game at Cressing Road, exclusively live from 4:45 on BT Sport 2. If Braintree fail at the final hurdle, we'll also have all the action and reaction from Prenton Park as Tranmere Rovers face Grimsby Town in what is sure to be an emphatic finish to the Vanarama National League regular season. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Jacko sponsors the Vanarama National League on BT Sport.